Hey guys, this is Hayden from Patrick Craig Academy, and in today's lesson we are going to talk about modifiers. If you're looking to follow along in the packet, I'm following along with the ACT Grammar Sentence Structure packet with the lesson that starts on page 8. So to begin, modifiers are words, phrases, or clauses, can be any of the three, that add extra information to any part of a sentence. The key thing that the ACT is going to test you on is how close the modifier is to the thing that it is describing. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Patrick taught math to the tired students on the board. In this sentence, on the board is our modifier, and our noun that it should be modifying is math. But right now, the noun it's next to is students. So right now, the sentence is saying that the students are on the board, which we know is not the case. So what we're going to do is change this sentence so that on the board is next to math, which it's describing. Our new sentence reads, Patrick taught math on the board to the tired students. In some cases, instead of moving around the modifier, you'll be rearranging the independent clause in the sentence, but with the same goal in mind, to have the modifier next to the noun that it is describing. In this sentence, we have, springtime was his favorite season by far, a time of year with longer days and warmer weather. We know that a time of year with longer days and warmer weather is talking about springtime. But right now, it's describing far. So we're going to rearrange our independent clause to have springtime next to the modifier. So the new independent clause is, his favorite season by far was springtime. So you can see right here. You also want to keep in mind that modifiers are not always going to be describing nouns. They can describe, for example, that we see right here, verbs. He talked to his relatives about what had been important to them in the past year. To his relatives is the modifier, modifying the verb talked, giving some extra information, which is what modifiers do. Here's some practice problems. If you'd like some more practice, all the answers are in the back of your packet. But for now, we are going to do a sample question together. So we have the sentence, to avoid becoming stranded when winter arrived, the women called a ski plane prudently to airlift them to McMurdo. So we can see that the question asks for the best placement of the underlined phrase. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more in a second about how to recognize modifiers, but basically anytime you see that placement in the question, you know you're dealing with a modifier question. So first let's identify what is being done prudently. We know prudently is our modifier. What is being done prudently? The answer is the manner in which the women called the plane. In other words, the word called is being done prudently. So what we want to do is get prudently as close to that called as possible. The answer choice that does this for us is answer choice D, because it puts prudently right next to called, which is the entire goal of modifier questions. Here we have another challenge sample question, and if you want to pause the video while you read through, feel free to do that. But this sentence reads, walking towards the docks, the seagulls are wheeling and swooping. Their high-pitched cries sound like rusty door hinges. We're going to do the same thing we did in the last question and just break it down. What is our modifier? In this sentence, our modifier is walking towards the docks. Walking towards the docks, we're going to ask ourselves, well, who or what is walking towards the docks? Your first inclination might be to be like, oh, the seagulls. But actually, if we read, the seagulls are already wheeling and swooping, so they're not walking towards the docks as well. In this case, it's actually I, and I didn't pull that out of the blue. That actually came from answer choice C, because I know it's not the seagulls, so I can eliminate A and D, and then we're down to B and C, and we need a noun to describe we need a noun for the modifier to describe, which B does not have for us. So our correct answer choice here is going to be C, and that is that. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. You're going to want to be able to identify modifier questions because that's the hardest part. The questions themselves are pretty easy to understand, but identifying the questions can be challenging. So the first type that you'll see is that placement question that I mentioned earlier. This one is going to have the word placement in the question. So that word placement is a red flag. All right, I'm dealing with a modifier question. The other type that you're going to have is the non-essential, comma, independent clause. In these, you'll see a lot of rearrangement going on in your answer choices. In this one, we can see every answer choice starts with a different noun, and what you're going to do is match the noun that goes with the modifier directly in front of it or after it, whichever way it goes. So let's see that. Okay, so now for a little bit of extra practice, we're going to show 3 modifier questions, and you're going to identify which of the questions is testing you on modifiers. Here they are. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. If you guessed that question 2 was testing on modifiers, you are correct. Because if we'd seen our answer choices, every answer choice starts with a different noun, or it's rearranged of essentially the same phrase. So that's how we know that we're looking at modifier questions. Our modifier in this case is shortly after performing her first supporting role. So we ask ourselves the same thing. Who is performing her first supporting role? It's Wong. So that gets us down to choices A and D, because audiences are not performing their first supporting role. And the answer choice ultimately is going to be A, because we do not put commas before prepositional phrases as answer choice D does. So here's some more ACT questions if you need practice, and that's all for today's video.